Hey guys, this is Mr. V, here doing a book review today for Monster Blood by R.L. Stine. Monster Blood is a classical Goosebumps book from the original 62 book run. This is book number 3 from that 62 book run. I don't give any spoilers during my book review. Now, let's get into Monster Blood by R.L. Stine. So the basic premise for this book is this kid, his name is Evan, his parents need to find a house, and I forget if it's in a different city or state, but they need to find a house in a different area. So Evan needs to stay with his aunt that he has, doesn't remember. I think he met her when he was like 2, and she is deaf, but she doesn't do any sign language and doesn't read lips. So that'll be tough for Evan, because he's completely new to the town, doesn't have parents, anything like that. One day at a thrift store, he buys something called Monster Blood, which is this like green substance, and it has some weird things to it. Like sometimes it'll be hot, sometimes it'll be cold. Sometimes when he grabs it, it just does these weird things. And then he starts to notice that it starts doing weirder and weirder stuff. And that is basically the premise for Monster Blood. So Monster Blood, I've seen from many of the reviews online that people either love this book or they hate the book. And I know why some of the people either love it or hate it. I think some of the people that don't like it is because this book is not scary. I'll just give that away right now. This book is not scary. It has more of a creepiness feel. And I'll go more in depth in just a bit. But yeah, it's not scary, so don't go into it thinking, wow, this is going to be super scary. So, just be aware of that. Now, I felt that this book had like a really nice start, because you do wonder, like, what would you do if you were in Evan's spot? Like, your parents are going away, they need to find a house. You're going to be living with your aunt, and you're in this new city. You don't know anyone. Your parents aren't even there. And this aunt that you don't remember, she's deaf, but that she doesn't read lips or do sign language. So it's very hard to communicate with her, yet you need to follow all her rules. I just thought the beginning was a lot of fun, because you do wonder, like, okay, what would I do in that spot? And how difficult would it be in that spot? So that's a lot of fun. And I thought that the atmosphere was a lot of fun because of that. Because you do wonder, like, wow, that actually is a very tough situation he's in. So, I thought that was really good. And as I said in the very beginning of my review, just understand that this book is not scary. But I found this book incredibly creepy. Now, there's a big difference. But yeah, I didn't find it scary. There wasn't any point where I was like, ooh, this is really scary, like in the first book, in the Welcome to Dead House. But this book was super creepy, because there's a lot of wonder while you're doing this book. Like, there are things that weren't explained, like when he's grabbing the monster blood, there's this green gooey substance, that it would be like cold, and then all of a sudden it would turn hot, or your hand would be hot, and then all of a sudden it would start turning cold, or it would be like hard at one point, and then it would just like ooze out. And there's a lot of things that weren't explained, and to me that added to the creepiness, as it was like this mysterious creepiness, and you were wonder, like, what's going on. And I thought that was like a lot of fun, because you kept wondering, like, what will happen. And again, I think that adds to this like fun, because there's continual wonder, and it's just like, okay, what's going on? And then as the monster blood gets creepier and creepier, it gets pretty crazy. Now, one thing I did not like about the book, or at least one thing I didn't like, was the characters were pretty stupid in the book. I like the characters' style, but some of the stuff the characters thought of were pretty stupid. Like, you would be reading and you'd be like, wait, that's all you thought of? Like, when they're trying to like solve something, you'd be like, that's it? And that's why I say the characters were pretty dumb in the book. So that was one thing I didn't like. Now, as for the end, it had a mixed bag ending, but overall, I didn't like the end. I judge an end by many things. First of all, whether I like the end, but also does it wrap everything up? But, while it wraps everything up, I really did not like the end. And the reason I didn't like the end, I'm not going to give spoilers, but the reason I did not like the end is because it felt forced. Like, when I was reading the end, I was like, it just felt like you didn't have it in it and you had to force it somehow. And then not only did it feel forced, but then he rushed it. And then you were like, okay, you're not explaining stuff, and it felt forced, and then it was like you rushed through it. So, I really did not like the end. I was not a fan of the end. It wasn't like just so horrible, but realistically, it was not a good end. So, that's just my opinion, but, I can see why some people didn't like the book. I enjoyed the book, but overall, I enjoyed the book as a whole. But I can see why people didn't like it, because again, it was scary, or it was not scary, but it was creepy. And then the end felt kind of forced, and the characters were whatever. But overall, I really still enjoyed it because of that creepiness factor. So, I would definitely recommend this book. But I always rate my Goosebumps books as either an A, B, C, D, or an F. So for Monster Blood, I would rate this a B. I thought that this definitely deserves a B because it still had the creepiness factor. You kept wondering the whole time. You kept wanting to read it. And it was just a lot of fun throughout the whole thing, despite some of the negatives I said. So I definitely recommend that you guys go out and read it if you're considering it. If you guys have any disagreements, questions, comments, please post it in the comment section below. I hope you guys click the subscribe button because I continue to upload all different types of book reviews. But thank you for watching my book review today. This is Mr. V. Go enjoy reading.